Alright, after this, we have Vaenuth, Chapter 4. Alright, so last time that we saw Vaenuth, she had been traveling from Rainrest through towards Nokair, where she was preparing with supplies to set off on another journey into the Expanse, where she will encounter presumably Slithers, but also the Logren Rivers, where she seeks trade. Oh, and I do have character art for these ones, so we can put that up as well. Always handy to have more visuals while I'm reading through these. Yes, there is Vaenuth. Lots of tattoos and the brands that we read about, where she had branded herself in order to reprise her freedom from the slave brand that she, cannot erase. All right. So we're going to continue with Vaenuth's story here. So, Vaenuth 4, 13th of the 6th moon, 1478. North of Nokair was a dozen mountain passes of varying safety and distance, winding from smooth jungle terrain onto the harsh rise and fall of foothills and cliffs. The moss became scarce, and soon a grey sand covered everything, save where rocks showed their ribs in the side of ridges. Vaenuth's caravan trudged onward, through the bones of the mountains, and out onto the edge of the desert. The south side of the expanse was a rocky underbelly to the endless dunes of the north. Their scouts plotted a path through the winding crevices and hills. During the middle of the 6th moon, they began to ride west. One of the wagons was unpacked, and everyone donned loose beige, grey, and white robes. The sun replaced the humidity as Vaenuth's adversary, and her robe was a tent between her and it. In the jungles, clothes caught more humidity, but out here, moisture wasn't a factor. Sheer heat was. "It's hellish," said Julian, riding his grey steed alongside Vaenuth's Bellmire. "I've been to the Eye of Maga before, and it was a paradise compared to this." He had his hood and mask on wrong, his nose jutted out where only his eyes should show. "We won't travel for as many hours," Vaenuth assured him, breathing through her veil. She wore none of her piercings now, but had replaced certain ones with wood pegs to keep her skin open. "By the end of this journey, you'll hate the food rationing more than the sun." Julian shook his head. "No, nothing could be worse." Bano, despite his immense size, was well accustomed to life on the Expanse. While Vaenuth had been venturing out here for 5 years, the Macron man had spent close to 20 years walking the scalding sands. He even claimed to understand some of the hisses of slithers, a feat scholars had not deemed worth undertaking themselves. "You'll live," he told Julian with a smile. He did not wear any mask at all. "If our pale friend here does, you will too." Vaenuth shook her head. "I hope you never see me burn." Julian scoffed. "What do you mean?" "By the gods," she said, "fix your veil, like this, see?" Julian flushed more, which was surprising due to the heat. He quickly fixed his veil. "I don't like how much it holds my breath." "You've already got enough sand in your nose," Bano said. "Trust me." "Very well," Julian said. "What do you mean about burning?" "Skin like mine," she said. "Tans often, but sometimes burns. Unlike the rest of you, I don't just become flushed. I become red." Julian laughed. "I've seen red people before," he said, "in Varnordos." "Nordos?" Bano asked. "Where haven't you been before?" "Plenty of places," Julian shrugged. His eyes looked like he was smiling. They kept riding. A few hours later, Bano came up alongside Vaenuth again. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Fine," she said defensively. "Why?" Bano showed his teeth again and looked back at Ellie, who was now discussing something with Julian from one of the wagons. That new recruit was full of surprises, it seemed. Bano turned back to the caravan leader on her big black horse. "You didn't eat again. Come on, Vae. We all need you to be strong." "I am strong," Vaenuth snapped. "I had coffee this morning and a couple of forest nuts." The big brown-shelled nuts grew on some of the taller trees. Vaenuth shook his head. He didn't usually question her this directly, and he didn't continue talking about the food topic after her bristling. Vaenuth kept looking straight ahead, and the caravan marched onward. On their left was the rising foothills of the Urna Mountains, and on their right, the ocean of sand. She spotted no tribes out there, which was good. A mission like this, trading with human villages on the Logran rivers, was better without any Slither interaction. Her scouts would inform her if any entered their caravan's trajectory, and if they were willing to trade. 9 out of 10 Slither caravans were, but for every peaceful encounter, there loomed a fear of the deep desert tribes. To Slithers from the Scale Lands, humans were just another animal to hunt, and Vaenuth's scouts might not return from such a sighting. For 20 days they would need to follow the mountains to the west. Vaenuth hoped that Banno's worrying was the worst issue that they would face. There we go. Vaenuth, Chapter 4. They made it to the desert. Alright. I'll read one more chapter, and then we'll move on for the last half an hour or so, and do some more world building on the lives of, or the world of Gethra wiki.